My name is John, and with me somewhere, not sure exactly where, is my son Martin and my lovely wife Laura. And we're here to talk about our Hobie family, one of the many families we belong to, and our trip to the Hobie 16 Worlds in November 2019. 3 years ago, we were visiting our catamaran sailing friends in Florida when my friend Bill mentioned that the international Hobie class had scheduled a Hobie 16 World Championship in Florida, and we figured this was a great opportunity. It's the first time in more than 30 years that a Hobie Worlds event would be held in North America. So we talked, and we quickly agreed that a group of us from Ottawa, ourselves, Bruce Bateman, with crew Bill from Florida, would all go to the Hobie 16 World Championships. We had to improve our boat handling skills, and we especially needed to work on this because I had not sailed Hobie 16s in years. Since 1997, I'd sailed Hobie 18s. Later on a Hobie 18 with a Tiger Spinnaker, and the 18 and the 16 are completely different boats. The 18s have symmetrical hulls and they have dagger boards. Hobie 16s have no daggers and they have asymmetric hulls. I ended up buying my 2015 Hobie 16 so we could train, and the first big difference was weight. The Hobie 16 weighs in at 315 pounds, which is class minimum, unlike the 450 pounds of our Hobie 18. The new boat is extremely sensitive to trim and helm, and I almost had to learn to sail all over again. With the new adjustable jib halyard system and the longer forestay, the rake of the mast is far more pronounced, which moves the center of effort towards the stern. This allows for better upwind performance and safer downwind speed. We worked on fitness, technique, teamwork. We got our equipment organized and tuned up. We networked with other Hobie 16 sailors. A big shout out to Karen Ann Xavier of Mississauga, who is a silver medalist at the Pan Am Games in Hobie 16s. She really helped us enormously with coaching and introductions and encouragement. And don't forget her hubby Daniel, who helped us as well. We raced at the Mad Catter Regatta in Syracuse, which is a Hobie class regatta, at Mississauga Cat Regatta, and the Water Rats Open in Toronto. Plus, we attended catamaran race training at Mississauga Sailing Club. Background. For 21 years, we were members at Canada Sailing Club, just up the river, and we've sailed cats since 1991. For a number of years, in fact, I taught catamaran sailing at Canada. Martin, son Martin. Like many youth sailors, summer after summer, Martin attended the Can Sail program at Nepean all the way up to, I forget, Bronze 5 or something, and he has better sailing skills than I do. However, I have got more mileage on catamarans and I'm sneakier. That's why we make such a good team. And Martin taught me that for sailing to work well, besides the effort, there has to be a lot of fun and enjoyment. So the thrust of my presentation this evening is that sailing is fun, even in competitive sailing. And a couple of weeks ago, I watched the Olympic laser sailor Sarah Douglas do a presentation. And in her presentation, this was the presentation to youth sailors, she talked about the process that is important. And our process included smiles and good sailing, good racing, many giggles, and some beer. So here we are in Florida, November 2019, on the beach at Captiva Island with the 60 Hobies lined up. And the races here, just north of Naples, have got guaranteed warm weather, and most of the time they've got fair wind. When we went to the check-in, it was very detailed and time-consuming. You had to bring with your ID, your life jacket or PFD, and display the date of manufacture of the PFD, because any PFDs that were more than 10 years old were discarded because the safety requirements have changed over the years. Each competitor was weighed. The class rules specify that the minimum combined crew weight of 280 pounds. If skipper and crew were under 280 pounds, they had to bring with weights which they could attach to the boat to bring the weight up to the minimums. And each skipper had to leave a cash deposit of $500 to cover any damages. And that's because the boats are supplied by Hobie, and I'll try and explain that now. At the Worlds and at other, about Hobies, at all the other regattas we've been to, we've used our boat, our Hobie 16, we've borrowed Hobie 16s, we've rented Hobie 16s. But at the Worlds, the Hobie Corporation builds 60 boats with special decals and special sails, but otherwise they are stock boats. All boats have to be certified as being class legal. That is, the boats conform to the class rules, the International Hobie 16 class. And in theory, this means that the equipment is equal and identical, and the rest is up to our sailing skills. All boats were supplied with factory-equipped EP03 epoxy rudders. They're stiff and precise and a pleasure to use. At a retail price of $800 each, they're worth every penny. It's these rudders which also act as our keels, and the hulls, because the hulls have no keels, nor do we have daggerboards or centerboards. So yes, it's a challenge to sail a Hobie 16, and it's more of a challenge to tack with any speed, and you'll see some of that in the videos. We saw much wildlife while we were down in Florida. Besides pelicans, we saw manatees and many other birds. And these were the best birds of all, the Hobie 16s lined up. They're all identical. I'll say it again. So the competition is based on who is the best sailor, not who has the newest boat. And as a footnote, after the regatta, you can buy the boats, which is a great opportunity for an upgrade to a world-class boat at a very good price. And all of the boats at the Worlds were sold. Back to the beach. Here we are at the skippers meeting. And in terms of racing, at each race on the beach, your name goes into a hat, you get allocated a boat based on sail number. When the horn sounds, you've got 20 minutes to set the boat up to your liking. Things like mast rake, or how high the hiking wires are, trapeze, etc. Then the horn goes off again, and you sail out to the start of the race and take part in your series of races. You'll see the fellows in the lime green shirts. Those are the beach captains who controlled everything that happened on the beach. They did a wonderful job. And when you return to the beach captains check the boats for damages, and then you park the boat ready for the next set of races, the next competitors, or you put the boat away. Remember to remove your water bottle and sunscreen. The racing was spread over just about 3 weeks, 16 days of racing to allow for all the classes. First came the Masters, which many racers used as a warm-up series. In the second week, the Youth and Grand Masters ran on alternate sessions with the Women's and Great Grand Masters. This was followed in the final week and a bit by the Open qualifiers, 2 days, semi-finals, 4 days, and the top 56 sailors took part in the 2 days of the finals. The first race of each day, wind permitting, was scheduled for a 10 a.m. start with no starts after 4 p.m. I want to bring in a quick word about youth sailing. This is the British team. This youth sailing was heavily subsidized. It was subsidized at all levels, from the home organizers and also from the race organizers. And it was sad that there was no Canadian team. Here is half of the Mexican team. There were youth teams from Australia, UK, USA, Puerto Rico, Cuba, Mexico, and Italy, but not from Canada. Now, the next Hobie 16s is World 16s is to be held on the Costa Brava in Barcelona with a hold date of this September, but more likely in 2022. And I wonder, can we target a youth team for this event from Canada? So far, we have 3 inquiries from the youth sailing group here at Nepean Sailing Club, and with the Hobie Corporation supplying the boats. This makes the regatta very attractive to youth competitors. Let's see what happens post-COVID in the world and where we stand with subsidies. We have more video, and bear with me for a minute while I disengage here and try and hook up the video, and we'll get going with where do I do this here? I go there and I go there. This is full screen. This is walking through one of the races, and I'll try and turn the volume up. No, there's no volume on this one. But here the competitors are getting ready to go out, and they're from all over, and they're all friendly. Martin and I knew that going in, we were not expected to win or even place. We knew that we were up against sailors who were much more experienced and much craftier than us. Our goals were to participate, meet fellow Hobie sailors, learn, sail with our buddies, have fun, not embarrass ourselves, and we succeeded beyond our expectations. So I'm suggesting that those of you who are competitive, don't be nervous about going to a Worlds event. Go. In fact, I encourage all of you to go to as many regattas and events as you can. Regional, provincial, national, worlds, whatever. Do what you can. The more we can sail, the more we will meet other sailors. The more we'll make friends, the more our sailing skills, I suggest, will improve. I don't know if the horn you heard there came over the video, but that was one of the signals to say people can now take off from the beach, and I hope in a minute we'll see some sailors doing just that. Here's one of my friends from Lake Austin in central Michigan, who's a very good sailor. That was Wally Myers, more friends of ours. And I think this is the Italian team here, one of the Italians. That's Tom Kors from Syracuse, New York. It really is quite a wonderful family. We not only re-met lots of friends, we made lots and lots of new friends. We continue to email and Facebook each other. And we can't wait for COVID to be over, so we can all go sailing again. Off you go, guys. There they go. They're off. All right, I'm going to edit and cut this video here, and we're going to go back to the next one, which is this slide over here. Give me a second to get there. There we go. Full screen. There we are, heading out, going out in our races, and it got quite busy, so please, we had to ask some of the boats to get out of the way. It's not easy to sail a boat with rudders up, but it's manageable. And we sailed away from the beach out to the race area. In the far background there, I think you can see the RC, which is a very nice large catamaran. Now, there we go. That was the race committee under AP at the moment. And I want to talk for a minute about the women's series. This was probably the most competitive racing that I've ever seen. In that group, there were 4 Olympians and 5 world champions. And wow, it was fun to see them go. Barb Perlmutter, her crew was ill. So she arranged that one of the youth crew would join her. And guess what? They ended up winning. And here they are. AP's coming down. And here are the women's group coming up to the start, coming up to the line, closer and closer. And here they are, and they're off. And as soon as they're off, they spread in all different directions. Some took port, and some took starboard. In the first race of our series, I was very nervous about the start. I'm used to Nepean where we've got maybe 5, 6, 8 boats on a start. Here there were 20, 30, 40 boats at a start. I was very nervous. And with so many boats on the line, I got a little left behind, and it left me with dirty wind most of the way around. But in our particular set of races, we had one day under AP as there was no wind. And when the wind is away, cat people tend to play. Here's more pictures of the woman sailing. Yeah, there was our AP. We waited and waited, and we waited, and we talked with friends, and we had fun. Some people had some more fun. We took the opportunity to socialize on the beach and enjoy the fun of being with our Hobie family, with fellow sailors from Lake Austin in central Michigan, from New England, from Florida, from France, from Hong Kong, from Tanzania, from the Netherlands. There's our friend Nick from Toronto. The people from Hong Kong, had a good chat with them. I don't remember where they're from. San Francisco. Yeah, that was the San Francisco. She's also from the West Coast. She was one of the organizers. He was from wherever, can't remember. So we waited and waited and waited. And from where? Trim. Oh, Trim, yeah. So we had a snooze. And some of the people on the beach got up to other kinds of antics. That's what you do when you're under AP. And then there was some racing. When the wind returned, it was light, and for the other 2 days of our series of racing, we did better than in the first races, and in the final race, San Martin took the helm, and we ended up with a mid-fleet finish. We were quite pleased about that. It was very exciting racing, and I can't wait to get to the next large event. It really is a good series of racing. Those are our friend Dave Stiemser from also from Lake Austin. I got an email, a Facebook from him this morning. He was snowboarding. Quite a difference. Coming around the mark, it was close. It was very, very close. Coming around the mark, and then we moved away. Coming back in. Well, as you heard in the introduction, how did we do at the Worlds? Well, in our category, Great Grandmasters, we were the top Canadian team. We were the only Canadian team. But in terms of our goals, we planned on enjoyment, and we succeeded. Well done, Martin. There's a picture of the beach captains, and I'm going to go out of this one so I can go back to video. Bear with me while I go to Windy Wednesday, which is one of our videos here. Am I full screen? Can everybody see okay? What's interesting to see here is how careful you have to be with your trim, your fore and aft trim particularly in these boats, because you make one mistake, you're going to bury a bow. The other part is how difficult it is to tack these boats. You've really got to use a lot of body work and other techniques to get the boat to turn smoothly and maintain speed. And sometimes if you make a mistake, you have an oopsie, you go for a swim. I want to wait in the video to see if we've got a mark rounding here. There's one of them. Those are the Italian team. They did very well both in the women's and in the open. Very, very competitive. Whoa, careful there. These folks were doing well. All right, I'm going to edit the video there and cut that one out and move on to some more of the fun stuff, which is what do you do on the beach when you're under AP and there's not much else to do. On the right there is Matt Miller from Hobie Corporation, and he came up with this little video, what to do when you're under AP. So in the same way that we prepared our rashies and PFDs and sunblocker and sailing gloves and booties, we also prepared our where to eat and who to party with. The thing is, we know there can only be one winner out of all of the competitors. Let me get back the other video. Where were we up to here? We were up to here. Yes. And full screen it. And we have to be realistic because we're not full-time professional sailors. And we know that sailing is not totally about technical stuff at the compete level. It's also about being with other folks, creating friendships, hopefully all the while enjoying ourselves. And this is very easy to do when you're part of the Hobie family. There's a culture that's unique with Hobie beach catamarans. Part of it's competitive, but there's another part that's very sharing, helpful, and a great resource center. And if you have time, go to www.hobiecat.com, HOBIECAT.com. Look for the Hobie Forum, and you'll get a feel for this camaraderie. I smile each time I think back to the Hobie Worlds, our time at the beach bar, the friendly atmosphere amongst all the competitors, and the dinner socials, the welcome party, the live band, those people who gave us good advice, and the amazingly slick race committee management of each hour of each day. We met sailors from the UK, Australia, Tanzania, Holland, Denmark, Italy, Netherlands, Germany, Brazil, Cuba, US, Mexico, Hong Kong, and our fellow Canadians, Bruce from Lac de Chêne. Hi, Bruce and Margaret, and Bill from and Colleen from Florida, Nick from Mississauga, their wives and girlfriends, and so on. And what have we got here? Oh, yes, the winner in the center here. He is 72 years old, and he won the Great Grand Masters, and he was a youngster back in 1978 when they had the first Hobie 16 World Championships in Hawaii. And with them are some of the other winners as well. We enjoyed the beach captains, who did a great job. Michelle from Hobie Europe, Dave Richardson from Hobie Australia, Matt Miller from the Hobie factory, and we all had a great time. Here are the winners in the women's category: USA, Australia, Mexico, and Italy. And in the youth category, Puerto Rico, the US, and the UK. In the open category, the winners were from Venezuela, second came Denmark, and third, Australia. I remember the invitations to attend other regattas and events and how each one has a better barbecue or beer tent. And if you want, Martin can tell you about the annual Mad Catter Regatta held on the May long weekend at Lake Oneida, Syracuse, and what a great time everyone has there. The organizers, Hobie Fleet 204, does not have a beer tent. They have a beer truck. So that's almost the end of my video. This is a t-shirt that I won for competing in the Water Rats Regatta. I thought it was quite useful to have, and I think they're available from Faux Marine for those who want. We'll move now to the final Thursday regatta. That's the one. The Thursday video, And we're going to see some interesting mark rounding there. You can see the wind was lighter than in the earlier videos, but to bring the boat up to the mark there, is he going to touch? Is he going to touch? No, he makes it. Good for him. And away they go. For those who are interested, we race on Wednesday evenings at Nepean. I'm often looking for crew. If you want to sail at other times, reach out, give me a shout. I'm reasonably available. And you don't have to be as athletic as these folks are. I certainly don't hike out as much as they do. I tend to be more relaxed in my sailing, but still we manage to have some fun. I was also amazed with how they used drones to do a lot of the photography here. It's a technique which is strange to me, but quite wonderful to watch. And they cross the line. Well, Stephen, I could go on, but I think we're doing quite well here. Has anyone come up with any questions?
Yes, indeed they have. Just give me a moment here.
Mm-hmm.
So back to being under PA, somebody asked, under what weather conditions would a daily race be would daily races be canceled?
You need at least 5 knots to do any kind of sailing. And if there are gusts over 20 knots at a world's event, they will not race because they don't want to damage the boats because they got to be sold afterwards. At the very first set of races in Hawaii, they wiped out half the fleet. I think 60% of the fleet was destroyed because there were big
Wow.
winds in the last 4 days of racing. The winds were well over 25 knots. And while the boats can take it, I've sailed in 25 knots without too much of a problem. You've got to be really careful. And in racing, sometimes people push it a bit, and that's when boats get broken. At the Worlds held in South Africa in Port Elizabeth, they lost about 12 boats. And some of the racing got really interesting because they just frankly, they didn't have enough boats. So yeah, the lower limit's about 5 knots, the upper limit's about 20, 22 knots.
So what's the strongest you experienced there?
When we were there, our winds were maybe 8 to 10 knots for our sailing. Later on in the open series, they had to cancel the last day because the winds were above 22 knots.
Wow. Cool. Another question here. What was the race course? Was it a triangle?
No, up downs with gates at each end. It was well laid out and well coordinated. I must say, if there was a wind shift, these guys were so slick and so quick in what they did. They were very well measured. We had lots of safety boats on the course, and it was a pleasure to sail.
Nice. Another question here that's come up from Dominic Goodwill. Were the winners super fit Olympians or just regular people?
I wouldn't say they were super Olympic fit. They were in good shape, yes. But I wouldn't put them at the same level for those of us who've been watching the Australian Open. Not at that level of fitness, no. No.
Okay. Oh, I guess you can stop sharing your screen there unless there's something else you'd like to show.
Only that one. That's the only one.
Great.
Okay.
So did you have any tense moments where you were on a collision course or had to avoid close calls?
Yes, I was very nervous at the start of the first race, as I indicated in my talk. There's a lot going on, and it's a delicate balance between maintaining your position. Um, it's not exactly like coming up to the start in a monohull where you can more or less hold the boat. Catamarans tend to want to go, so you've either got to go or uh, you lose your position. So it got quite interesting. That for me was very tense. Once we're sailing, I'm fine. We know how to wiggle the boat. It's a very, very responsive craft to sail, and we did okay in that. Collisions, no, we know how to get around that. It's just the start, and I've now gotten used to the start. And as I said in the last race, Martin took the helm, and we ended up with a pretty good finish for us for what we normally sail.
Great, thanks. So Michelle has asked a question from Martin if he's there.
No, he's not available, but I can try and answer.
Oh, okay, all right, sure. But just as you were talking about the racing and the speeds, what was the top speed you'd say you reached?
Oh, at those races, the wind wasn't that high for us, but I can tell you that in one of our training sessions, Martin and I went up to Lac de Chêne to do some training with Bruce Bateman and Bill from Florida. And on the way back, we got caught ahead of a little thunderstorm cell, and Martin happened to have his phone with him. And afterwards, Martin told me that we clocked in at 18.1 knots. And I know we could have gone faster. I know we could have gone faster.
Holy smokes.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. And for those who
Well,
are interested in speed, there's a wonderful, wonderful YouTube video. If you look up Joyrider TV on YouTube, you'll come across a guy called Joe Bennett who runs a sailing school at Wild Wind on the island of at a resort called Vasiliki in Greece. And you can go there and sail all kinds of boats and all kinds of catamarans, lighter winds in the morning, really strong stuff in the afternoon. And I think Joe holds the record at about 24 knots on a Hobie 16. I don't think I could do what Joe does. Go and have a look at it. You'll see it's a lot of fun.
sounds great. So Michelle's question was that from Martin's perspective, how would he summarize this amazing experience?
Oh, he had a blast. Martin had a lot of fun, met a lot of people, and he had fun. And he realized that, sailing is for everyone. And you can take sailing and go as far as you want with it. We all had a good
Mhm.
time.
I can only imagine that as a dad, it must have been pretty fun to have your son along working together like that.
Oh, Martin's a great person. He's fun to be with. He's enjoyable, and especially when he teases me, we get along well together. He's a great person to sail with. Thank you for that.
That's great. So a question from Michael Washer. How close to the wind did you get?
In a Hobie 16, close to the wind,
Hmm.
that's a tough question. If you can come up to 45 degrees, you're doing well. Yeah.
Okay.
If we're beating into the wind and we really want to push it, both of us will go out on the wire and we'll sheet in block to block on the main sheet so that the boom is almost touching the rear crossbar. And we'll move our body weight as far forward as we can so that the bow is almost at the waterline.
Hmm.
And physics takes over, and we can make it to the mark reasonably well.
Nice. What's your favorite point of sail
Broadreach,
in a Hobie?
Broadreach
Hmm.
goes like crazy. Love it.
Yeah. Big wake behind, I bet. So further question from Dominic Goodwill. How could Hobie afford to fund so many new boats? You mentioned that every boat got sold at the event.
Yes.
Also, how was the boat manufacturer involved? Are all the boats made by one company?
Today, Hobie is one company. They've got their the head office and main manufacturing is in Oceanside, California, just north of San Diego. There's Hobie Europe, which is in France, which they own. And I'm not sure of the ownership arrangement in Australia. A gentleman called Steve Fields runs that. And they've got the three companies. The best hulls today are made in Australia. They're really good hulls. All the metal fittings, the masts and the other fittings are made in California. And the sails are made wherever there's a sail loft. Chip, who also runs Whirlwind, makes the sails in North America. And there's another good loft in Europe. I'm not sure who makes for them. But those are the main places where they are. For this event, the hulls were made in Australia. They were put into containers and shipped in. All the metal pieces and sails were done in Europe. They were shipped in. They were assembled at the resort. In 3.5 days, they assembled 60 boats, parked them on the beach. And as I said, afterwards, they were sold. And they sold all of them. So Hobie did not lose on this deal.
I was going to ask, so did they sell them with less margin than normal, maybe? Or
Oh yes, they sold them for $10,000 US. Normally they sell for $13,000 US per boat. Plus, of course, they had the fancy sails and the decals and the look pretty stuff on them.
Here's a good question from Michael Washer. When you were going downwind, did you raise the rudders?
Oh, that's a question of much debate, whether you raise one rudder or not. Some people swear by it, and some people say, eh. For me, I prefer the extra directional control that you've got from both rudders. Some people say the upwind rudder you can raise because there's less drag. It's such a small point that I don't think it's worth getting excited about.
In your overall experience, would you say there was one aspect that you would say was the absolute highlight over any other, or what aspect? So there's the social, there's the competitive, there's the experience on these brand new boats.
Well, for me, in a way, it's for those of us who have cottages. We don't have one, but imagine meeting your whole extended family at a cottage for the first time, like once a year in Canada Day, whatever. For me, it was like that because I know a lot of the people from the internet. I know a lot of people from the regattas there, and it was connecting with all those people again. And on top of that, making new friends. That was the best part for me. The venue was spectacular. It's a lovely part of the world, and I'd love sailing. We loved sailing there, and we loved being there. And one of these days, we're going to go back and do some more sailing there. So yes, the sailing was good.
Great, thank you.
If I can, Steve, I'd like to give a shout out to the Hobie 16 Worlds organizers, Rich McVeigh, the president of the International Hobie Class Association, Steve Fields of Australia, Laurie, the organizer, and Mimi Appel from Syracuse, Jeff Perlmutter from Arizona, Matt Miller from the Hobie Corporation, Matt Bounds from Detroit, and all the other hardworking folks who made things run so smoothly there. And thanks to all of you at Nepean for putting this on. This is a wonderful group to be part of. And a big hello to Joaquin, get better soon, David Bradley, Matt Davidge, John Walker, Martin Kabedic, Greg Johnson, Nakra Josh, Dominic Goodwill, Ross Wilby, Don Ball, Michelle Simon, and most of all to my darling wife Laura, my son Martin. Thank you for being with me when we sailed.
Terrific, thank you. I'm going to give one more chance for people to post any questions in the Q&A box that they may have. And so John, Rick is asking, do these Hobies pitch pole like the old ones?
Not as much. Yes, I've pitch poled, but that was mostly when I was running my Hobie 18 under a spinnaker. And spinnaker sailing can be fun. What they've done is there was a minor change in the design in the mid-90s coming out of Europe, where they lengthened the forestay. And I mentioned this in my talk. And that allows us to rake the mast further back, which moves the center of effort more towards the stern. And that takes the whole center of effort closer to the rudders, which act as the keels. So if your weight is correctly proportioned, you can keep the bows out of the diving in, and you won't pitch pole. That's not to say you'll never pitch pole. Uh, if you're on a screaming reach and it's happened to me, and you're out on the wire and your feet slip and your weight goes forward, as it happened to me, I actually pulled the boat over forward. We pitch poled, but we were up again in probably 70 or 80 seconds. We were up and we were flying again. So yes, the newer boats are much improved that way, but it is still very possible to capsize or pitch a Hobie 16.
Excellent.
You got to have quick reflexes.
I bet. Well, we have a question that I think is just great, and I agree with it. Could we see the first video that we missed just before you shared your screen?
So I've got to go in here and say share screen, and I've got to go there, I think. Yes. And oops, do I have it? Let me close that. Sorry, I'm just going to have to see where this other one is. It's this one. The first video. Oh, this one here. Yes. All right. Is it showing now?
No, we still see your list of files.
Okay, hold on.
We only see the one screen. I can hear it, but I can't see it.
Okay.
There it is. We see half of it.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the other half off. There we go.
Great.
I'll take it back to the beginning. And this was from July 2014, Son Martin and I coming back into Nepean after Wednesday night racing. And this was on my old boat, my Hobie 18. There's Martin out on the wire. And we're zooming along, about to overtake a 505, heading back in towards Nepean. I missed that boat. It was big and it was heavy, but sailed beautifully.
That's lovely.
You've got to get ready to release it in instant. Like now. Thank you. You're right here. Now. Thank you. Now. See how they hit you? Now, there's wind. You're fine. There's wind, you go faster, Dad. Sailing.
There we go. That good, everyone?
Great. Thank you very much. That's
All right.
awesome. I'll let you stop sharing your screen. And yeah, John, thank you so very much for sharing. That was quite exciting and delightful to see. That's the first time I've ever seen a presentation on a tournament like that. And it's very eye-opening. Looks like it was a lot of fun.
Oh, it certainly was. Thank you.
With
Thank
some
you
moments.
very much.